Watkins! Sammy Watkins for the touchdown!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are proud to present you the Fumblerooski Podcast by Power 88 Deem Radio, along with Fans Only Sports Network. I am your wonderful host, Justin Tucker, along with my good friend, CJ Medeiros. CJ, what's going on, my man?
Hey, man, I'm just fine. You know, we have a good episode in store for you guys, and doesn't matter how I'm feeling. Well, let's just
matter.
Like in terms of the show, I'm just excited for the episode. That's all I'm gonna say.
You enjoyed 4th of July?
Oh, of course I did, man. Great, had me a wonderful time, and I'm going to Martha's Vineyard next. So if you're listening from Martha's Vineyard, you see me, just say hi. And that is all you're allowed to say. Don't come on. We keep it PG around these parts.
Just say hi and keep walking. We appreciate it. All right, but we have a good show for you today. On this week's episode, we are going to talk about our top 5 running backs, and along with our most underrated running backs, thanks to the Fumblerooski fanbox question. But of course, we start with the top 5 as usual. CJ, without further ado, let me kick us off.
Alrighty then. Let's start number 5 with some controversy. My number 5 running back heading into the season is Christian McCaffrey. Now, there's a lot of people, Panthers fans, that say he's number 1. Well, the stats don't exactly say that, and I'll give you one reason why. Injuries. The past 2 seasons, he hasn't even rushed for over 500 yards, and he hasn't even received for over 400 yards in the past 2 seasons as well. Last season, he ran for 442 yards and 1 touchdown. He had 343 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. So he has just 2 touchdowns the whole season. That won't cut it. He's slowly starting to become a real big injury red flag. But yeah, if he wasn't injured, he'd probably be number 2 or number 1. But he just can't stay healthy. And look, I'm a Christian McCaffrey guy. But good Lord, I just want this man to stay healthy. Maybe he'll be top 3 if he stays healthy, but at this point in time, sorry, Panthers fans, that's a big if.
That's my problem. He's not even on my list, and I know it sounds sacrilege, but he can't stay healthy, and he's on an incompetent Carolina Panthers team. So
yeah,
that's the struggle for me. I don't think he has the line in order to succeed, so he'll have to depend on more of the pass catching side of things, but I'm not sure if that'll be the long-term success too, considering they have Robbie Anderson, and I don't trust who they have at quarterback right now. So,
you mean the ghost man there? He who sees ghosts, Sam Darnold.
He threw like 4 picks that game, didn't he?
Oh yeah, that was a fun game as a Pats fan to watch.
And then wait, didn't y'all play them too this past season?
Yeah, and he threw like 2 picks and didn't even reach. I don't know what the stats were from that game, but I know they weren't good.
And I think y'all won.
Yeah, we did.
So yeah, Sam Darnold continues to see ghosts. But as far as Christian McCaffrey is concerned, I feel like when healthy, he's top 5 all day. But the problem is the best thing is availability, and he hasn't been available to them in general. So until he becomes more reliable as far as less injuries, I can't put him in my top 5 because there's just too much talent and it's unfortunate, but it's also the same reason I didn't put Saquon in there.
Yeah, I didn't. Saquon's not in mine either. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So all those New York Giant fans, sorry, Saquon didn't make the cut. My number 5, I was debating between 2 players, and in the end, I chose with Austin Eckler. I think he's a downgrade from Christian McCaffrey, but not by much. I think what you lack in rushing with Austin Eckler, you get majorly in the passing game. He is perfect for the type of system they run in Los Angeles, and along with a quarterback like Justin Herbert, who is top 10, top 7-ish, top 5-ish, he'll get a lot of receptions, he'll get a lot of targets, and therefore have a lot of opportunities to gain ground in the run, especially if you have a center like Corey Linsley and a left tackle like Rashawn Slater. That'll make holes for you to run and get 5 or 6 yards per carry. So I believe that he'll take a step forward with this offense, and they'll make the playoffs this year, hopefully. But my other guy, The one that just missed out was Aaron Jones.
For me, it was Eckler that just missed out.
Over
yeah.
You chose McCaffrey over Eckler?
Yeah, but I mean, like, just from like a skill standpoint, you know? I'm
get
still holding out hope for McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just, you know how it is with injuries.
I'm holding out hope for Saquon.
Yeah, he was so great his rookie year.
Yes. But then, you know, injuries. And
they didn't really give him a good line.
They didn't fix that line at all for him. And
they tried. They gave Nate Solder God knows how much money, and look how that turned out.
It was a bad investment.
Yeah.
They tried. Doesn't mean they were actually successful.
That's fair.
All right, so who's your number 4?
Coming at number 4, I'm putting the main man from the Vikings, Dalvin Cook. Now, a lot of people see Dalvin Cook for his injury history, and yeah, that makes sense. But last season, I will grant you, he only played in 13 games, but he still put up 1,159 yards and 6 touchdowns, and he had like 224 receiving yards. It's just the thing with Cook is, once like McCaffrey, it's injuries. Like I said, despite the fact he put up those numbers, he still only played 13 games. And but I mean, luckily for him, he does have Madison backing him up, so when he's gone, the running game doesn't suffer entirely. But look, Dalvin Cook, you know, he's fast, he's strong, he's got good juke moves. And he's shown an ability to catch the ball out of the backfield as well. So just, I like I said, once again, it's injuries. That's really what it comes down to. If he can play at least 15 games next season, I'm willing to move him up a spot.
I agree. As a matter of fact, he was my number 4 guy too. I think in the type of system, especially when they had Gary Kubiak in that zone scheme system, he was amazing. He was phenomenal. Especially now too. Even though he only played 13 games, he still racked up 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns. Now, if only he could stay healthy, those numbers would get better. The problem is he never stays healthy. So I think that's just a matter of you can only get him for only a certain amount of time due to injuries. But when he's healthy, oh boy, he can make plays that only few can. And it's impressive what he can do. He may not be a power guy, but he's a shifty guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen him bowl people over. He's got a little bit of power behind him.
Yeah. He's got a little bit of power. He's got surprise power, but I wouldn't call him a power back.
No, he's not a power back, but no, he can.
Yeah.
I mean, he can like squeeze through the line, get you that goal line touchdown, no problem.
And I feel like if they just get him out in space, especially in the passing game, I think he should get more receptions this year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, see, he doesn't have like a nose for the end zone as a receiver, but he's played for 5 seasons. And 3 times of 5 seasons, he's gone over 300 receiving yards.
Yeah, so it's not like he can't catch the ball or gain yardage. It's just a matter of how they plan to use him. And I think it'll just get better under an offensive-heavy mindset coach instead of Mike Zimmer.
Yeah. I feel like with Zimmer gone, that offense is going to take another step forward. Again, a lot of that depends on Kirk Cousins, but don't tell Vikings fans that.
Don't tell Adam that, because he still thinks Kirk Cousins like sucks.
I mean, he doesn't suck, but he's not like a world beater.
I think he's underrated. I think considering what he's been dealt with as far as an offensive line, he's done fairly well. I think top 15ish to below top 10 is fair for him.
Yeah, top 15. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. But again, Dalvin Cook's on our number 4. Who's your number 3?
My number 3 from the Cleveland Browns, Nick Chubb. Now, well, let's take a gander at his stats. Now, let me tell you something about Nick Chubb. 1,200 rushing yards last year and 8 touchdowns. I mean, he's not really a receiving back, but man, he's like this really scary combination of size and speed. He's fast. When he's in the open field, kiss him goodbye. But when you're in close quarters, he will knock you down. He will just bowl you over. And that's like just terrifying. You know what I mean? How are you going to cope with that as a defense? A fast guy and a strong guy. He's basically like kind of like a Dalvin Cook on steroids, as like a pure ball carrier. And the only reason his numbers aren't even better than what they are is because he shares that backfield with Kareem Hunt, who's
Yeah.
pretty darn good in his own right.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like I'm repeating everything you just said because we might have the same list. That's what I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Nick Chubb. Again, the only reason he's not number 1 is because he has 2 freaks ahead of him. That is the only reason why he's not number 1. Every time I see him play against the Baltimore Ravens, I fear my life because ever since 2019, he ran for over 100 yards and won 88 yards against us, and it just never felt the same since. So every time he goes against us, I always fear, oh my God, he's going to break off a long run against us, and we can't stop him. Once he gets going, he's very hard to stop, and you need to gang tackle this guy. And if he didn't share the backfield with Kareem Hunt, oh my God, his numbers would be through the roof. He actually might be number 1, but unfortunately, he's handcuffed to Kareem Hunt, which isn't a bad thing for Cleveland. That's a good problem. But as far as Nick Chubb's stats, as far as fantasy, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nick Chubb is a phenom, especially for a team like Cleveland that had a bad season last year.
Yeah, I mean, and even still, there's a bit of a quarterback controversy, like in Cleveland, but it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, Brissett, everything aside, you still have a really, really dangerous ground game, like, with Chubb and Hunt. So you should be fine, especially with Chubb leading the way.
Yeah, especially in that Kevin Stefanski offense. That's Oh, all right, who's your number 2?
Now, this might surprise some people. A lot of people would have him at number 1, but my number 2 is Jonathan Taylor from the Colts.
All right, we're different. All right.
You see that? Good. Yeah, we got some variety. Now, Jonathan Taylor was the best running back last year, I will admit. He's another one who's fast and powerful. Had 1,811 yards rushing and 18 touchdowns, starting all 17 games. Oh my God. And I'm a Pats fan. I remember what he did to us. I'm not happy about it, but the dude's a freak of nature. Literally averaging over 100 rushing yards a game and 5.5 yards a carry. And like I said, plain simple, best running back last year. But I have someone else at number 1. And like I said, this is going into this year because there was someone else that was a little bit hurt last year that I think will be number 1 next year. Tucker, who's your number 2?
My number 2 is Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
Big, bad beast. Now, let's put this into perspective. He missed half the season, and he almost put up 1,000 yards. That is, how dominant you would have to be to miss half the season and still finish top 10 in rushing yards?
Pretty dominant.
Oh, my God. He's a beast when he's on the field. I want to say in 2020, last time he was fully healthy, he ran for over 2,000 yards.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. I think he's the 8th running back to do so in NFL history.
Uh-huh.
So that was a huge milestone. He then went on the next year to completely be on pace for that same type of year, if only injuries didn't hamper his success. What I'm trying to tell you, once he gets going, he is hard to stop. I saw what he did to us in the regular season in 2020. It was not good. It was not healthy. He ran through us in overtime, and I was punching a hole in the wall. I was so upset. I could have punched a hole in the wall. I was so upset. But he's just that dominant of a player. Ever since his 3rd year in the league, he turned a switch, and he's never looked back. He's just as dominant as he is. He just hasn't had the season that Jonathan Taylor had, which, spoiler, he's my number 1. I believe Jonathan Taylor is younger, less wear and tear on the body, and will only go up from here.
Fair enough.
So who's your number 1?
Well, my number 1 is actually Derrick Henry. And let me tell you why. So when you look at Jonathan Taylor's stats, like I said, he's like at 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, I believe. And look at Derrick Henry, 937 yards and 10 touchdowns in only 8 games. If Derrick Henry is fully healthy that season, heck, like I said, he only played 8 games. There's 17 games in a season. If we double that, so he only played 16 games, he would mathematically have more rushing yards and more rushing touchdowns than Jonathan Taylor. Mm-hmm. And with Derrick Henry, I know those leg injuries can be a death sentence for running backs, but Derrick, I don't know. Like, I don't think it's going to affect Derrick Henry that much. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. But Derrick Henry, just like you said, like he's a tank. Probably the strongest running back in the NFL, has the deadliest truck and the deadliest stiff arm. He's not really a receiving threat, but he doesn't need to be. He can run over anyone. And I think next year, King Henry's taking his crown back.
King Henry is taking his crown back. That's nice. But meanwhile, while we're talking about the number one running back, let's talk about that bad man that just so happens to be in Indianapolis, Jonathan Taylor. That guy had a season for the ages, especially with a quarterback that is as erratic as Carson Wentz is. He still put up a dominant season. I remember when I knew I was watching something special when he went up against the Bills and just toyed with them, made them look like little boys out there, and just completely eviscerated that Bills defense, which is no joke for anybody who was watching. That Bills defense was good. And he just toyed with them, and they just couldn't stop him. Whether it was running or passing, he just felt invincible that game. Jonathan Taylor put up a season where he had over 1,800, I want to say either total yards or 1,800 yards and over 10 touchdowns. What do you want to say, CJ?
Wait, what? No, I don't.
No, I thought you wanted to say something. My bad.
No, I'm just agreeing.
Hopefully he'll have more competent quarterback play, so hopefully he'll have bigger lanes to run through and not have big, like, it's 7 to 8 man box to deal with, or 9. So hopefully he'll have a better season than last and maybe break into the 2,000 threshold. I'm not saying he will because he does have Nyheim Hines backing him up. But I think that Jonathan Taylor could have a historic season next year.
Well, it's certainly possible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like for me, as far as Henry and Taylor go, you could basically, flip a coin. I mean, if he didn't get hurt, Henry, I think, would be the undisputed number one because his stats are already on track to be better. But, we could, do like ifs, ands, or buts all night long. Yeah. So, Justin, what's coming up next?
Coming up next, we turn to the Fumblerooski fan box and we turn to you, listeners, and your suggestions on who is the most underrated running back in the NFL. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Fumblerooski Podcast. And welcome back to the Fumblerooski Podcast. I am your wonderful host, Justin Tucker, along with my main man, CJ Medeiros. And right now we are talking about the Fumblerooski fan box, where we send out a question and we look for your responses. And today's question is no different. Who is the most underrated running back in the NFL? We look to you and we figure out what you guys think. And the first one is, without doubt, CJ says Damian Harris, 900 plus yards and 15 touchdowns last season, and he's ranked top 20 or fringe top 20.
Yeah. All right, hold on. I gotta rant a little bit here.
As a Patriots fan?
Yes, as a Pats fan.
Let's hear it.
How did he finish? I believe top 10, either like 9 or 10 in rushing yards. Number 2 in rushing. How was it passing? Rushing touchdowns. And yet, the best those sports pundits will say to him is fringe top 20, if that. Well, I say no. The Damian Harris slander must stop. And yes, I know he's not a big name. He's not exciting to watch. But the man puts his head down and gets it done. And keep in mind, he missed 2 games last season. Count a little bit like Derrick Henry. Who knows how much better he would have been if he played like a full 17. Because he definitely would have gone over 1,000 yards. So that's just, I mean, I'm not going to say he's top 10, but the fact that some people don't have him top 20 is, to quote Stephen A. Smith, blasphemous.
Blasphemous. All right, I think he might be top 10. I will give you that. But you're trying to tell me in this new Bill Belichick offense he'll have the same success as he did under Josh McDaniels?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a fan of Josh McDaniels, so I'm inclined to say he might be a little bit better. Maybe just, some outside runs. Don't just send him up the middle or do screens every god darn play. McDaniels.
Oh, it sounds like a little hatred coming out. Well,
just a little bit.
I guess you were very happy when they got rid of Josh McDaniels then.
Extremely. We do have an offensive coordinator, but in Bill we trust. That's really all we can do.
All right. Grayson Mortimer, a regular on the show, said either Devin Singletary or Damian Harris.
Yeah.
I will talk about Devin Singletary. For the Buffalo Bills, he's underrated because I don't think many people know about him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm looking at him like last season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he still had 870 yards and like 7 touchdowns. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not really a receiving threat, but I mean, Buffalo is a heavy pass first team. Yeah. And even still, like, you can make a case their best runner is Josh Allen. I just think Devin Singletary needs the reins a little bit more.
Did you just say that Josh Allen is their best runner?
You can make a case.
It's a terrible case.
Is it though?
If you're telling me Devin Singletary is a worse runner than Josh,
no, I said you can make a case. I didn't say he was. Let's all just calm down a little bit.
All right. I think Josh Allen is a very good runner.
Josh Allen literally had 763 yards and 6 touchdowns last year. That's basically just slightly worse than Devin Singletary.
That's still worse. All right, enough jabs about Josh Allen's running ability. He is a good runner, but I still think I'd take Devin Singletary as a runner. But Josh Allen is a big, strong running threat as a running back because he actually will plow through defenders like it's nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Tyson Tate, another regular on the show, says Damian Harris easily.
Yes, Damian Harris cult rise. Damian Harris supremacy. But but we all know how I feel about Damian Harris.
I mean,
pretty darn good running back.
Would you feel this way if he wasn't on the Patriots?
I don't know. I'd like to think I would because I give like props to most people like Javonte Williams. He's going to be big next year, honestly. Rashad Penny in Seattle. Ooh, that's darn good. I respect the underrated ones too. Also, the backup in Minnesota, Alexander Mattison. He's basically like like Dalvin Cook 2.0 there.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that they have Dalvin Cook and Madison.
Yeah, I know, right?
If one goes down, you can just plug one in and you'll be just fine with it.
Exactly.
Because he's not a bad running back at all. Mm-hmm. All right. Patrick Willover says Madison could be just as good as Cook if he has the starting role.
I mean, he's kind of like Cook, but I wouldn't say that. I think Adam said that he's a little matchup dependent, which is true. But, like Madison could still start. Yeah.
Yeah, he could start. The problem is Dalvin Cook's better.
Yeah. I mean, on like another team, like maybe that's a little running back needy. He definitely could probably start.
Mm-hmm. You could do a lot worse than Alexander Madison. I will tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
Ian Mulhern,
I think it's pronounced.
Yeah, Mulhern said Nick Chubb.
How's Nick Chubb underrated? Most people have him top 5. I mean, I'm not throwing any digs or jabs, but I'm just saying. I'm a little confused.
Who's saying Nick Chubb is a scrub, or who's saying he's not top 10 or top 5 for that matter?
Probably the Ravens fans.
No, they'll say he's top 5.
Yeah.
I'll admit he's top 5. My problem is y'all just act like J.K. Dobbins wasn't injured last year.
Oh, yeah. J.K. Dobbins, he would have been a beast last year, but, injury bug is going to get you. Sometimes.
It got him and Gus. So,
that's right. That's the bus. Look, Nick Chubb is a great player. I mean, like I said, top 3 running back in my eyes. But he's great. I don't see how he's underrated. I would that explained to me sometime.
I agree. I don't think he's under. I think he's rated just fine.
Same.
Derek Cole says Kareem Hunt finished RB12 in 2018, RB10 in 2020, and RB8 before injury.
Yeah.
He's just behind Nick Chubb. That's the issue.
Yeah. Brown, kind of like we talked about the Vikings, the Browns have another great running back duo with Chubb and Hunt. Also, please keep in mind Kareem Hunt's also a great receiving back too, and he could also start in a pinch for pretty much most any team.
Mm-hmm. He'd be a great starter on other teams. The problem is in the Browns, he's behind him, Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's a bit underrated, but that's because of who he's behind, not because of him individually. Tyson Tate again says James Conner does not get talked about enough after his bounce back season.
Yeah, James Conner last season, he was scary.
He was a touchdown threat.
Exactly. I think he led the league last season with I want to say like 18 total touchdowns, like 15 rushing and 3 receiving. I mean, the yards aren't there per se, but kind of like Damian Harris, he's a touchdown machine. What do you think?
He finished with 15 touchdowns. I'm not sure if it was rushing, but
it says right now I'm on a Pro Football Reference. It says 15 rushing touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns.
Yeah, so
that's 18 in total.
Yep. So I think he was kind of deserving of that Pro Bowl nod if you can give me 18 touchdowns. Now, I think the running yards is something to be desired more, but that could be just the simple case of the offense he's in, not necessarily the player, because he only had like 200 touches.
Well, yeah, I mean, the air raid offense isn't exactly, friendly to running backs.
No, but since he's found a nice little starter spot, I'm not going to complain, especially if you're giving me 18 touchdowns.
Exactly.
So I think he is a little underrated because I don't hear him talked about enough, but I think it's just a similar case to like Robert Quinn. Like he had a monster season, no one really talked about it. Roberto Canedo said Harris.
I'm going to assume he means Damian.
Yeah, that's one.
Because I don't know anyone who says Najee Harris is underrated. But yes.
I mean, unless you're a Steelers fan.
Yeah, I don't think he is.
If you saw about Damian Harris, apparently that name's coming up a lot.
Yes, because we know we will not sit back and let Damian Harris just be called barely top 20. It's not good. Top 15 easy.
Fair. That is a fair assumption. Brady
Etherton? I think it's Etherton.
Forgive the grammar. Or Etherton. Javonte Williams. Yeah, he could be.
Javonte Williams. He's going to take off next season.
He's the Broncos running back, right?
Yes, he is.
He's on a
Yeah. Oh, and almost certainly he's going to take the reins away from Melvin Gordon.
Absolutely. If they don't start Javonte Williams, that's a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Same like the next one coming up. Not this one, the one after. Cole Hinckley says Zach Moss.
Yeah, Zach Moss. He's a bit of an interesting fella. Now, let me tell you something about Zach Moss. He's like the bruiser for Buffalo. Believe me, I'm a Pats fan. I know. That guy, he just runs you over. I mean, granted, he only had like 345 yards and like 4 touchdowns last season. That's because he's primarily used in short yard situations where you can just plow through a defensive line.
Mm-hmm. So, on other teams, he'd be a solid RB. I'm not even sure of that. I think he's rated just fine. It's just on certain occasions he comes in to do what he's designed to do for that team.
Yeah.
So I think he's good where he's placed. I don't think he's underrated. I think he's just rated fine. He's definitely not overrated.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't call him overrated. He's underrated a little bit to me.
Mm-hmm. Kpro _6.7 said Tony Pollard. That's the one I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
He needs more touches immediately, if not sooner.
Yeah. It's just the thing is with Pollard. I mean, obviously you have Zeke there, but I know some Cowboys fans that would literally take Pollard over Zeke. My issue with Pollard is that he doesn't quite have a nose for the end zone. Only had 2 touchdowns last year, but still, with he played in 15 games. I don't think he started any, and yet he still had 719 rushing yards. Not to mention he's a decent receiver who had 337 receiving yards last season. So, I mean, don't sleep on Pollard. He's like the dream number 2 running back.
Yeah, so he had 1,000 all-purpose yards, and still are keeping him around as the number 2. And you can see Zeke is potentially might be having a decline because he's not as fast as he once was. I'm sorry, but I want him to start next year instead of Zeke. And when you get to short yardage situations or goal line situations, then we can put in Zeke. But until then,
tell me that. Tell Mike McCarthy that.
Mike, if you need, you know where you need the juice. It's coming from Tony Pollard. That's where the juice is. Are we missing anybody that's an underrated running back that the fans haven't said?
Honestly, I would say Rashad Penny from Seattle.
The thing about him is injuries.
Yeah.
I think he just came off a torn ACL. As a matter of fact, all the running backs in Seattle, him and Chris Carson.
Yeah. I mean, Rashad Penny stepped in when he needed to, and he still had 749 yards and 6 touchdowns, quite literally averaging 6.3 yards per attempt.
Yeah.
Again, remember, Rashad Penny was a first-round pick. And, I mean, at least now he's finally finding his stride. But, honestly, I would say he should probably start next year over Carson because Carson's showing he can't stay healthy.
Yeah, that's my problem with Carson. He runs super hard, but he can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
Of course, me being a Raven and seeing no one pick J.K. Dobbins, I'm gonna throw J.K. Dobbins' name into that. But if I had to choose another one, who's underrated? A.J. Dillon.
Oh yeah, from the Packers. Yeah.
Quad father and Quadzilla. I thought Saquon had quads, and then there's the Quad father and Quadzilla.
Yeah, that's certainly something there.
That's how you know you're a beast. You have 2 different names for your quads.
Yeah. These NFL fans, they're a crazy bunch, I tell you.
Alrighty, that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for listening to us. Be sure to tune in to us live Tuesdays at 7:30 on Twitter and Facebook through Fans Only Sports Network. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also have all our episodes available on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and so much more. Be sure to also follow our Instagram at Fumblerooski_podcast to keep up with our podcast and the latest on the NFL. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Over and out.